Hello everyone, this is Alejandro Vidal doing a video on user story 2900 update API user access permission. This is my contact information. If you have any question regarding this user story, feel free to contact me. If you have any general question, contact Dr. Masoud Sayari, which is the product owner and mentor of our project. Let's take a look at the documentation of this user story first. As a developer, I would like to update the API user permission so that I can be able to modify regular user information in the backend. This user story has two major accepting criteria, which is as a super user, super users should be able to see and modify any information in the backend, and a regular user should be able to modify to see all the information but only modify his own information in the backend. With right now, with the current implementation of Breeze Home, regular users do not have access to modify their own information. So this is the major goal of this user story. This user story has two, in the use case diagram, has two roles with authenticated regular users and authenticated super users, and has two major use cases. One to modify the own information of the user authenticated, and the second one is the modification of other users' information. And as you can see, authenticated super users can have access to both use case diagram to both use cases, and to modify their own information and to modify other users' information, while authenticated regular users have only the ability to modify their own information. This is the specification of these use cases, and in the sequence diagram for this user story, for these different use cases, they are pretty similar, with the difference that for authenticated and super users, always in the backend, the user requests the API users view to see and modify to see the information of the user and the modification form for a specific user. If this user is a super user, then this request to the API permission with authentication information, in this case the token, will return with the access granted from the API permission, and this information will return to the user displaying the modification form on the user API. If the user is a regular user, the major difference is that the API permission will determine that this access is denied because the user has not permission to modify any other information, and this modification form will not be shown if a regular user want to access other users' information besides their own information. The classes that are involved in this user story are first the URL.py, which is in charge of determining the views that are related on on each user action. In this case, the user view set is the one that is going to be acting as the major role, showing the information to the user, and the API HTML, which is the actual HTML that to the display the page to the user. But the major implementation was done on the permission.py, which is related with the user view set and determine if the user has permission or has object permission. Has object permission is the one that is in charge of allowing the user to modify information on the backend. So two major unit tests were run on this user story. The first one is that this authenticated super user confirms super user ability to see and edit any information in the API. So super user should be able to edit any information and see all the information that they want. And the second unit test was run for regular users and confirmed that regular users can the ability to see all the information but only edit their own information in the API. So both unit tests passed successfully, and we got a visual user guide of how this implementation can be seen on the backend, and some pictures showing the result of this implementation. will be demo these pictures right now. So if we go to our local environment, we go to the API root. Right now I'm logged as a super user. Let's try to access some information to display. So this user right here is this one, and as you can see, is a super user. So if I want to see the information, my own information is displayed here, and also you can see this is the contact form. This is the form that allows the user to modify their own information. Here you can modify any information they want, and since I am a super user, I can also go ahead and click on another user, and as you can see, I can see their information as well, but can see also the form to allow me as a super user to modify their information. So the idea is that let's try to log in now with a regular user account. Let's double check. Okay, login now, the regular user account. We go to the API root, see the information. So right now, let's double check. I am logged as this user, which is not a super user. And if I click here, I can see my information, but I can also have access to modify my own information. So this form was not available in the previous implementation because regular users cannot modify any information. So right now, if I'm logged with the same user that I'm trying to access, I can see and modify my own information. But as a regular user, if I want to go ahead and try to see or modify any other information, other user information, I can only see the information, but I have no access to modify any of the other user information. So as a requirement in our user story criteria, with the implementation of this user story, I will be able uh, to complete the user story in 2917, which is the edit the user profile, so the user can have access to modify their own information from the front end. Again, this is my contact information. If you have any doubt specific to this user story, or if you have any general question, please contact our product owner and mentor, Masoud Sayari, as this email information. Thank you.